So, hello everyone. Hello from Glasgow. Thank you for joining us from wherever you are in the world. We're absolutely delighted that you can join us today for this afternoon's postgraduate question and answer session. So my name is Mark and I work in the International Recruitment and Partnerships team here at the University of Glasgow. So in today's session, we will be answering lots of frequently asked questions covering a broad range of topics such as accommodation, scholarships, the sort of support services that we offer here at the university, what life is like as a student here in Glasgow, and much, much more. For those of you that are watching live on YouTube or Facebook, please feel free to use the comment section to post any questions that you might have. I can see that there's lots and lots of questions coming through already, so lots for us to get through today, which is great. I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by a fantastic panel today who can't wait to get started and to answer the questions that you have about the university. So I'm joined today by one fellow staff member and two current postgraduate students as well. So I will now ask the panel to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit more about who they are. So first up, Abby, I think I'll turn to you.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Abby and I am an international student here at the University of Glasgow. My program is MSc International Strategic Marketing. It's a bit of a mouthful, but I'm also from the United States.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Abby. Chrislyn, I'll turn to you next.
Hi everyone, I'm Chrislyn. I am a postgraduate here at the university. I specialize in intellectual property law and the digital economy. And I'm originally from Malaysia, but I have had the privilege of living and studying in 3 different countries prior to being here in Glasgow.
Thanks, Chrislyn, that's great. And last but certainly not least, I'll turn to Mhairi.
Hi everyone, I'm Mhairi. So I work alongside Mark in the International Recruitment and Partnerships team. I'm really happy to be here and hopefully help answer some of your questions today.
Thanks, Mhairi, and thanks everyone. So that's great to meet today's panel. So we've got around an hour for today's session, and hopefully by the end of that hour, you'll have a really good idea of what it's like to be a postgraduate student here at the University of Glasgow. So as I mentioned, it looks like we've got lots of questions to get through. So I think without further ado, we'll probably jump straight in and get to the first question. So we've been getting quite a lot of questions about accommodation that have been coming through. So Abby, as I understand it, you're living in University of Glasgow accommodation. So I'll maybe turn to you first. And can you just tell us a little bit more about the accommodation that you're currently staying in?
Yes, I can definitely do that. So currently I am staying at Maclay Residence Halls on campus. Maclay Residence Halls is mainly for postgraduate students, but they also are for mature students as well. So if someone you know or you are an undergraduate but you consider yourself a mature student, there is opportunity to live at Maclay. Also, Maclay is about, I would say, like a 25-minute walk to campus at max, depending on what speed you're wanting to go. But also, it is 10 minutes from the beautiful Kelvin Art Grove Museum. It's a great place because it's also near Finiston. It's located in York Hill. There's the river behind us. Plenty of cafes and little spots to eat at with friends. Maclay itself, I've always felt super safe and secure in. Actually, we just recently did a walking tour of Maclay, and it's on the YouTube University channel if you want to go and watch it. I did it with them, so you can go and see what the rooms are like and kind of get the feel for Maclay if you're interested. Also, I am an LSA, which is Living Support Assistant at Maclay. So we have an office staff and basically 24/7 service in case of any emergencies or anything needed for university students that are staying in residence halls.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Abby. Yeah, so great to know that kind of most of the residences are within walking distance of campus. And you mentioned Finiston, so yeah, lots of fantastic cafes and restaurants and things round about there as well. So an ideal location both for the university campus, but also exploring the rest of the West End and the rest of the city of Glasgow as well. So thanks very much. Chrislyn, so as I understand it, you are not staying in university managed accommodation and that you're in private accommodation. So I wonder if you could maybe tell us us and today's viewers a little bit about where you're living and how you kind of went about finding that current flat that you're living in.
Yeah, sure. So with private accommodation, I think it's good to take into account that there's two types of private accommodation that you could opt for. So you could opt for sort of privately owned and managed student accommodation. So there are lots of companies scattered around Glasgow that manage these student accommodations, like Student Roost or Unite Students. They have really nice buildings dotted all around the city of Glasgow. So you could opt for that. It's a little bit more similar to university managed accommodation in the sense of having 24-hour security. You know you're living in a building full of students, so it might be easier to make friends. There's also usually amenities provided within the building itself, and you just pay sort of a one monthly flat fee of sorts. So you would have access to a gym, access to security, as already mentioned, access to sort of chill out spaces. So I don't live in privately managed student accommodation. I just live in a privately rented accommodation. I would say that to find this sort of privately managed accommodation at the moment is probably going to be a bit more difficult than it is to just opt for a privately managed student accommodation, for the reason that as a postgraduate, likely you're only going to be here for a year. And a lot of the time it will be easier to just book a room in a privately managed student accommodation as opposed to finding a landlord who's willing to rent to you for a year. I was really lucky with finding my current flat. My flatmate and I, we basically just were very diligent in calling a lot of renting agencies all across Glasgow and going for viewings, and we managed to find our current accommodation. A lot of the time you will be competing with other applicants for a place, so they may be able to stay for longer, and that's usually a benefit for the landlord. So if you are interested in sort of a private accommodation managed by a landlord or a renting agency, you can definitely opt to do that. But I would just say that it might be a bit difficult. And I think having gone through that experience and looking back, I might have chosen to opt for a student private accommodation, just because you have all your amenities in one place. It's 24-hour security. You're only there for a year. Everything gets fixed, if you just call reception or something like that. Whereas with, private accommodation, you don't really have those same luxuries or amenities. But yeah, I think how you go about sourcing private accommodation is really just going onto websites like renting agency websites and booking a viewing, and they'll take it from there.
Thanks, Chrislyn. Yeah, that's really helpful. So yeah, I mean, I guess to highlight, there are a number of different options between university accommodation and private options as well. And everyone watching today, you'll all have, kind of different thoughts on what would be, kind of your priority. But yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about the support and things available with accommodation, which I guess takes me to the question for you, Mhairi. So could you maybe talk us through the kind of practical side of applying for University of Glasgow accommodation, and maybe tell us a little bit about whether that is guaranteed for students as well?
Sure. Yeah, if you decide that you are going to want to stay in the university accommodation, then the application is done online through the university's website. And you can do that as soon as you've accepted your offer. And that's whether it's an unconditional offer or a conditional offer. So as soon as you've done that, then you can go online and start that process to book your accommodation. We do guarantee a place in the accommodation if you're a new student to Glasgow, and you have to make sure you apply by the deadline, which for postgraduate students is the 25th of August. So that's a really important date to make sure that your application is done by then, and you need to have met the conditions of your offer by then as well. There's lots of information on our web pages. You can see kind of different profiles of the accommodation, watch videos. I think, watching some of the vlogs that our students like Chrislyn have done as well is a really good way to see, whether it would be a good fit for you too. But definitely try to apply as early as you can. So as soon as you have that offer, you can start making that application.
Fantastic. Thanks, Mhairi. Yeah, great advice there. As you'll all see, there's the website scrolling along the bottom of your screen, so please do check out the postgraduate accommodation pages on our website. As Abby mentioned, she's done one of several really good videos that you kind of get to see in each of the residences. You see what a standard room looks like, what the communal space, the kitchen is like. So it really will be a good way for you to get an idea of what that accommodation is like and where it is in relation to campus as well. So I would definitely urge you all to kind of check that out on the website, and it might help you to make your decision. And if you are joining us or looking to join us this September, as Mhairi said, you absolutely still have time to apply, but the sooner you do, the better, I guess, would be our advice. So thank you very much. So moving on to our next question then. So at the University of Glasgow, we have a very diverse student body with international students joining us from all over the world. I think at last count, we had students from over 140 different countries studying with us. So a really international campus with students from all over the world. Abby and Chrislyn, you already mentioned that you've joined us from the USA and Malaysia, respectively. So could you maybe tell us a little bit about what it was like when you moved to Scotland and what it was like kind of settling in to life in Glasgow? So Abby, I'll maybe turn to you first, please.
All right, so I would say that I was a bit nervous. I didn't know anybody coming in. I have no ties to Glasgow. I have no family members here. It's also the first time that I was leaving the States. So it was a big leap. I was very nervous, but honestly, I settled right in and I felt at home almost instantly. Whenever I came to Maclay, my flatmates welcomed me with open arms. I came in a little bit late just because I had a visa process that took a little bit longer than normal. But they welcomed me with open arms. Even, for example, my flatmates, they're from all over. So I had 4 besides myself in total, 1 from China, India, Spain, and Panama. And we are still all very close to this day, even as we're ending the semester and moving out ourselves. I would also say that I have made friends from absolutely all over, even within my program. Again, very welcoming.
Fantastic, Abby. No, that's great to hear, and great to hear you've made so many friends from all over the world, really emphasising that kind of international diversity that we have here at the university. So, Chrislyn, same question to you. How did you kind of find your first steps in moving to Glasgow, and how did you settle in?
I think for both Abby and I, just because we were here from last year when there were still, COVID restrictions very strictly in place. So I'm hoping that everybody who is going to move here in September has an easier time, because I think for me, coming from Asia, and then there were all sorts of restrictions floating around all over the place, and it was kind of confusing. But apart from that, it has been really easy to transition to life here in Glasgow. I forgot to mention this earlier, but I do live in the West End, and I think most students at the University of Glasgow will sort of be living in the West End, Finnieston city centre area. So it's actually really central. You have really easy access to lots of good, food options, lots of good activities. There's, if you're interested in fitness and just everything, there's lots of things to do in Glasgow, especially if you're interested in, the performing arts. There's a really great, thriving art scene here in Glasgow. So lots of things to do, which is really great. I also find that with living particularly in the areas that students tend to be in when you're in Glasgow, so again, West End, Finnieston, city centre, the options for moving around the city are great. So you have lots of convenient travel options. You have the bus, which is it's okay. I think sometimes public transport can be not so great, but I feel like in Glasgow, it's actually the buses stick to the time, so that's always nice. We also have the subway, which I love. It's just got one line and it just kind of goes in a circle. But if you live in the West End or the city centre, it's really convenient. Yeah, probably getting used to the Glaswegian accent was the most difficult thing for me. But other than that, everything has been really easy to transition into.
Thanks, Chrislyn. Yeah, that's great to hear. Yeah, it's quite funny when you see the Glasgow subway map versus like New York and some other sprawling mega cities, and Glasgow's really just an inner and an outer circle that just go round and round all day. I'm glad to hear you've mastered the Scottish accent. Obviously, both Mhairi and I being from Scotland and Glasgow. So hopefully, if everyone watching today is able to understand what Mhairi and I are saying, then you'll be absolutely fine if you do come to join us in Glasgow. I guess you've both kind of touched upon this already, but I maybe just wanted to draw out a little bit about how supported did you feel when you arrived at the university? Could you maybe tell us about any events or any activities that maybe took place, just in terms of kind of helping with that period when you first arrived? So Abby, I'll maybe pop back to you. I know you said you arrived a little bit late, but I guess kind of anything you might be able to touch on that our viewers would find useful would be really interesting to hear.
Yeah, so I did arrive a little bit late, but I know that there was a amazing welcome week. There was like a plant shop that I was really bummed about missing. There was times where I think that people were getting bussed out to IKEA, trips at the beginning, a lot of opportunities to make friends. I find that if I'm asked any questions about coming to the university in general, people are most nervous about making friends. And during that time span, it's a really great time to connect and meet with everyone. I would also say that there's a lot of different student support connections as far as on campus. So there's health and wellness, there's mental health, transportation. I can't think of all of them at the moment, but there's definitely a ton. For me personally, being a living support assistant, we have a crises team in the student housing. So if you are ever in need of any help in that case, we're more than prepared to lead you to the right people. There's also a GP surgery on campus that I've even been to myself. It's very convenient to call in the morning, book an appointment. You usually get someone in that day, or if you don't, they'll get back to you, call again the next morning. And then also academic-wise, you do have student representatives usually for your program that can help with things. Your course governor, especially mine, has been very communicative in anything that I have needed.
Thanks, Abby. Yeah, that's great to hear. And Chrislyn, I guess a really comprehensive answer there from Abby. But do you have anything else in any of your experiences that you might want to share just around the kind of support that you got when you first arrived here at the university?
Yeah, I think Abby definitely covered a lot of ground in terms of the support available. I would sort of also split my answer into two parts. So in terms of the academics, like Abby already pointed out, you do have student representatives that are available. I myself am a student representative for the School of Law. So students, we kind of act as a middleman or a liaison point for students when they want to raise concerns up to the heads of school. We have meetings around, well, we can call meetings pretty much whenever. So if there is an issue that needs to be addressed, we're here to listen to the student body and to raise those concerns up. In terms of my experience with academic support at the law school, I find that the LLM program is really, really, really responsive to any query at all. They tend to get back to you within the same day, if not the day after. So if you do have any concerns with regards to, exams or adjustments that you might need, or just anything at all, I do find that whenever I've had a concern or a query, that I've been able to get an answer from the school really, really quickly. It's also really good to maybe take into account that they do generally have FAQs posted on individual school pages. So if you can't find the answer there, then maybe it's a good one to raise up to the school. But most of the time, a lot of the more common questions can be answered just by doing a quick Google search, browsing through the pages of your particular school's website. In terms of support for life, I stayed over the winter break last year, which I think maybe a lot of international students tend to do, particularly if going home is a bit of a journey. So for me to fly home, it's about 12 hours. So I stayed over the winter break, and something that the university did, which I thought was really, really nice, was they set up a Facebook group, and I think it was the University of Glasgow Accommodation Services that did this. And they put in this Facebook group all the international students who basically were staying in Glasgow over the holidays, so that you could connect with each other, and that way you didn't feel lonely, or they had events that they were running over the break. So I actually made a few friends just by being on this Facebook group. So in terms of life support, aside from what Abby already covered, there are also these groups that they create just to ensure that you're taken care of, and I find that really, really, really great.
Thanks, Chrislyn. Thanks for sharing that, and that's great to hear. Seeing the comments, I see that we've got kind of lots of students from all over the world joining us, so lots of international students here today. So Mhairi, I'll maybe turn to you now and ask, could you maybe tell us a little bit about the work that the International Student Support Team at the university do?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously going to university is a kind of big life event for anyone, but especially if you're coming from overseas. I think, as Abby mentioned, it might even be the first time that you're leaving your home country. So we really want to make sure that you feel welcome and supported while you're in Glasgow. And our International Student Support Team are a dedicated team there to help you with any kind of non-academic related issues or things that you just want to talk about as well. So they're there year round, and you can just go and speak to them. You can email them or set up a one-to-one appointment as well. But they also organise, so the student orientation. I think it was Abby again was talking about things that you can do before classes start. So that's usually the week before term actually starts. And you can find information that will be put up onto the website shortly, detailing the programme for that. But yeah, great to get involved in that. They'll give you lots of practical information about living in Scotland, things like joining a doctor, setting up your bank account, all these kind of things that you'll need to do when you get here. But also just a really great way of meeting other international students and making those kind of friendships before you actually start your course as well. So definitely recommend checking that out and getting involved in the different events that will be on. The International Student Support Team are also our visa experts. So if you do need any help in kind of that process before you actually come to join us, there's loads of information on their web pages as well. Or again, you can email them and set up an appointment to discuss what you need to get your visa to get here too. And then lastly, they have a kind of welcome team. So these are current students or students that have just graduated. So they'll, truly know the student experience and be able to help you. So they'll be available from August, just to help you with any questions about settling into life in Glasgow, even, where to go shopping for stuff for your flat or food shopping, things like that. So yeah, just speak to them when you get here. But there is a lot of support always available throughout the year to make sure that you really make the most of your time here and settle in easily too.
Fantastic. Thanks, Mhairi. Yeah, I think just important to reiterate, that there is lots of support available if you need it, in so many different ways at the university. You really just have to ask, and there's, so many staff that are ready and willing to help you and kind of help you settle in to life at Glasgow. So a couple of final kind of, I guess, quick questions to kind of pull together the thread of the support available for students at the university. So Abby, turning to you, whether this is something you've experienced or just something you're aware of, is it quite easy to get kind of help if you're feeling kind of homesick or lonely at the university?
So yes, it is definitely an easy process to get any sort of support as far as being homesick or lonely. I know I've experienced myself. I feel like anybody, you don't even have to be an international student to feel lonely or homesick. It just happens. And during those times, you're more than welcome to reach out to any support on campus. We have counseling service on campus if you need it. We have events and socials at the university halls and on the weekends that you can come and join yourself. LSAs, again, living support. We also have a 24/7 service. So if you ever need anything, you need someone to talk to, you need us to get you in touch with the crises team to help you through these sort of emotions and get you back on track, we're there for you.
Thanks very much, Abby. No, that's great to hear. And Chrislyn, I guess sort of final question in this section of the session. And I know you kind of alluded to this already in one of your answers, but how easy have you found it to make friends during your time in Glasgow?
Yeah, I think it's been a good environment to make friends, particularly in the postgraduate course, just because I find that in my course particularly, probably around 90% of these students were international students. So everyone was coming here to socialize. And I think, you know, transitioning from the kind of virtual format that we were initially having classes to the physical format, that just made it a lot easier to make friends. Also, if you join societies and things like that, you can definitely, there's a lot of opportunities to make friends.
Thanks, Chrislyn. Yeah, that's great to hear. Certainly something that I know Mhairi and I do get asked about quite a lot by international students. A little bit worried about moving somewhere completely new and not knowing everyone. But what I would say is that, you know, for international students joining us, everyone's kind of in the same position. So everyone's kind of looking to make friends and to settle in. So yeah, that's something that, you know, kind of, as you say, kind of happens organically once you're here. So moving on then to talk a little bit about sort of part-time work and kind of funding living costs and things whilst you're a student. So Abby, I'll turn to you again first with this question. So I guess the question would be kind of how feasible is it to kind of work part-time during your master's, and do you currently have a part-time job while studying?
Yes, so I'll go ahead and start with the feasible portion part of it. I have found it to be very feasible, especially in my position. I have been allowed to, you know, get my work done. I have made time and space for it to get done, and I felt it very manageable. I also know other postgrad students who hold part-time jobs off campus. So for me, mine is on campus, but I do know students who have had a job at one of the cafes over on Byers Road, another one in the city center. I had a friend that worked for lunch in the city center just on Saturdays. And it seems that the community as a whole has made it more adjustable for students to be able to carry a workload with them as they are doing their studies. As far as my position, again, I'm a living support assistant at Maclay Residences. I feel like I've been saying this one a lot, so apologies for the repetitiveness of it, but to kind of explain the job description, living support assistants, we are the ones who, after hours for office staff, we are the ones that you'll call in emergencies, or if your power's gone out for some reason in your flat, so you're locked out. Also for any emotional support, flatmate conflict, things like that. It may sound like my phone may or may not be ringing off the hook at nights, because we get a little duty phone from 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. on the weekdays, and then 24 hours during the weekends. And it's usually not, especially for Maclay. It's a very, you know, low-key residence hall. Again, we're more mature students, so I find that we are more independent. And so, you know, having that balance and everything has been very helpful. Also, you know, my supervisors have been really great if we need to get anything done or change our schedule due to different events happening in our lives. They're very cooperative with those types of things.
Thanks very much, Abby and Chrislyn. Same question to you.
Yeah, I definitely think it is feasible to hold a part-time job while you're studying, but I would also sort of caveat that and maybe have you think about the requirements or the workload of your course. So if you know you're in a more heavy contact hour heavy course, I would take that into account, because you know, as a student, I suppose the priority here is to deliver on your work. As for me, I found my current part-time job on the Student Job Hub. So that is a dedicated platform run by the University Career Service that advertises vacancies to students. They have vacancies both for on-campus positions and off-campus positions. So like Abby mentioned, some of her friends are maybe working at cafes and then herself working with the university. So a wide array of job vacancies are advertised on that platform. I currently am a project assistant with the Adam Smith Business School, where we're running a digitization project for the tourism sector in Scotland. So that's a really fun job, and the hours are very, very good to help me with like working around my studying schedule. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of opportunity if you go on the Student Job Hub, which is only available to University of Glasgow students. So all the more reason to come join us this September.
Thanks, Chrislyn. Yeah, no, and great to hear from both of you, that you have managed to find those opportunities. Just to highlight for international students, again, who are watching, that there are some restrictions around the number of hours that you're able to work when you're here on a student visa. So during term time, that's limited to 20 hours per week. And to be honest, as Chrislyn and Abby touched upon, I think any more than that, and you would probably be struggling to get the right balance between your studies and working. I think 20 hours, certainly in my experience as a student, was probably around the maximum that still allows you to dedicate enough time to your studies. So as you'll see along the bottom of the screen, there's a link to more information about the fantastic work that the Career Service do. So as Chrislyn mentioned, they have the Student Job Hub. There's also an internship hub advertising kind of paid internship opportunities, but they also do a lot of work as you begin to think about what you might want to do post-graduation. So they do things like helping you write your CV. They organise mock interview sessions, preparation for graduate assessment centre work. So my advice to you would be, if you come to Glasgow and join us, engage with the Career Service. They organise big events on campus where companies come to actively recruit Glasgow students. So my advice would be get on the mailing lists and get involved so that you have those opportunities both while you're studying, but also thinking about what you might want to be doing with your career once you finish your studies with us as well. So yeah, thank you very much both for sharing that. So I guess moving on then, I can see from the comments that we've had a lot of questions about scholarships, and we always get quite a lot of questions about scholarships, understandably. So Chrislyn, I think I'll turn back to you again. Am I right in thinking that you were awarded a University of Glasgow scholarship before you began your studies with us?
Yes, so I'm currently on a scholarship jointly funded by the University of Glasgow and the British Council. So it's called the Great Scholarship. And I actually found it while looking at my course page under the fees and funding tab of my course page. So if you're interested in applying for a scholarship, there is a list of scholarships that you would be eligible for your course, but you can obviously look for scholarships elsewhere as well. The application process for the scholarship that I applied for was fairly straightforward. It was just an essay that I had to write and send into the scholarships team at the University of Glasgow. I also noticed that there's quite a lot of comments asking when they'll get replies and things like that. I guess understandably, for each scholarship, there will be a lot of people who are applying. So for me personally, I think it took around 3 weeks to close to a month to actually hear back from the university. So if you just applied and you're still waiting, I think it's gonna be about 3 weeks to a month. But I'm not speaking for the scholarship team, just inferring, given that I think a lot of people do apply for funding, and they do take, I think, the time to read through everyone's application, which is really great.
Thanks, Chrislyn. Yeah, no, that's great to hear. So you'll all see that there is a link scrolling along the bottom of the screen with a lot more information about scholarships. So yeah, there are, as Chrislyn mentioned, kind of University of Glasgow scholarships as well as external scholarships. So we do have a lot available. They're often of kind of varying value as well. And there are some that you will be considered for automatically when you apply to your top postgraduate programme. There are others that you will have to make an application for. So I guess my advice is, check the website, look at the details, check to see as many awards as you might be eligible for to apply to, but just worth highlighting that you would only be awarded one, and that would be the one of the highest value. So definitely take the time to kind of check the website. Both the scholarship search function and, as Chrislyn mentioned, kind of available scholarships are listed on each of the programme pages as well. In terms of external scholarships, there are other sources of funding as well. So like Chrislyn mentioned, the GREAT scholarships in partnership with the British Council. There's also kind of large ones that you might be familiar with, things like Chevening, Saltire scholarships, which are run in partnership with the Scottish Government, the Commonwealth scholarship. So I guess that the takeaway for those viewing today is that there are scholarships available. They can be very competitive, but my advice would be apply for as many as you can, and hopefully will increase your chances of being awarded one of those. So but definitely check out the website and find out more about that as well. Okay, so moving on then, I'm going to turn to Mhairi, and I guess again another question for our international community watching today. Mhairi, could you tell us a little bit about any English language support that might be available for students studying at Glasgow?
Yeah, so we offer pre-sessional English classes if you need to, just kind of boost your English level a little bit to reach what's required for your course. And you can find lots of information about them online. But there is also still support available all the way through once you're on your degree as well. So international students can make an appointment or join a class to get help with their academic writing skills. And there's also online workshops, the English for Study and Communication. So you can join these, and that will help you with both your academic and just general English skills for life in Glasgow as well. In addition to that, they do have peer proofreaders. So these are native English speakers, but who are also familiar with the kind of system at the University of Glasgow and the academic writing used there. So they can proofread your work and give you kind of hints and tips on how to kind of improve that as well. So there's lots of different support that you can access once you're on your course too. And then not just for international students, but for all students, there's help that you can get kind of specific to your college that you're in on your academic writing skills, or if you need help on your maths and stats side as well. So yeah, plenty of support. Please just ask for it if you're struggling a little bit at all. We can always help you, and there's loads that you can access.
Thanks very much, Mhairi. That's great. Okay, then. So moving on, and Chrislyn, I'll maybe turn to you again now. And in one of your earlier answers, you mentioned about kind of arriving at the university whilst quite a lot of the restrictions associated with the pandemic were still in place. So could you maybe tell us, in your opinion, does it feel like things are getting a little bit more back to normal on campus now?
Yeah, definitely. So since the start of the second semester, I think the university really tried to encourage people to, if they weren't already physically in Glasgow, to return back to Glasgow, just because they were restarting face-to-face classes. And I think since restarting face-to-face classes, it's been life is as normal. We've been able to interact with our tutors in person, interact with our classmates in person, and overall, I think beyond the academic side, we've been able to hold social events in person. If you run a student society, I think over the last year it was mostly online socials and online gatherings and things like that we're all, I'm sure, very familiar with because of the pandemic. But definitely life is normal here in Glasgow, and I think it'll be really exciting for everyone joining us this September.
Thanks, Chrislyn. Yeah, no, it's been great over the last couple of months, feeling like we're getting back to how things were a few years ago. Mhairi, I'll maybe turn back to you as a member of staff to maybe just talk as well about kind of what's happening on campus now and any restrictions and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think as Chrislyn said, it's really great that we're seeing things getting back to normal. All the kind of restrictions in Scotland have now been lifted. And that's true for the university as well. The university is still recommending that you wear a face mask if you're in a very busy area, and also just that you're kind of respectful of people that still feel comfortable wearing face masks as well. And you will still find sanitizer and things like that around the university. So we want to get back to normal as much as possible, but also make sure that everyone still feels quite safe in doing that too. But it has been really fantastic to be back on campus and see students back there and everybody mixing again. And I think we're really excited that we're going to have, graduations happening in this summer in person again, and that people being able to actually celebrate on campus properly. So yeah, I think as Chrislyn says, we're just really excited to welcome you as much back to normal as we can in September, and it will be great.
Absolutely, thanks, Mhairi. Yeah, can't agree more with that. When I've been on campus recently, there's been a buzz about the place again, and the sun has even been shining. So it's been really nice to see that recently as well. Okay, perfect. So Abby, while we're on the topic of campus and a buzz about the place, can I maybe turn to you, and can you just very briefly tell us kind of what the campus is like and where's your favourite place to hang out or socialise or meet with your friends?
Yeah, so as you guys were saying, there is a buzz back on campus with now a lot of the COVID restrictions being lifted. Even this past semester, I've had classes back on campus and it's been absolutely great. Of course, campus in general is absolutely beautiful in my opinion. I love walking up and seeing the main campus building and just how beautiful it is. Also, the campus itself is sort of condensed, but also, you're not having to travel very far to get from building to building. Everything is within a very short walking distance from each other. So for example, like the main campus is in one spot, but then across the street is the library and the Fraser building. And then just down the way is the James McCune Learning Hub. So very accessible to go to each sort of building in a short time span. You're not having to go, across the city or anything like that to get to a course or to get to a study area. And then moving on into maybe some of my favorite places on campus. I would say that specifically the third floor on the library or in the library is my favorite. I love the little cafe area that is over there, and they have like these gigantic booths that I just like to, go and sit inside and hide away from everything while I'm writing, especially right now during the summer while doing my dissertation work. I am in there pretty much from 9 to 5 and set business hours for myself. Also, another popular spot is the Gilchrist Cafe on main campus. I love going in there. The staff there is so friendly. The ladies are very welcoming. They even know me by name now. And I don't know if that just speaks to their kindness or also just because of how much I'm in there. Probably both. And then another favorite spot for me is the Fraser's building. So that's right across from the library. It has some great views of campus if you go up to top floor and sit up there. And then it also has the bookstore downstairs, and that's where you'll find the GP surgery.
Thanks, Abby. That's great. A real detailed description there of the campus and some of the facilities. And you touched upon it. I'll just briefly mention a really exciting time to be thinking about joining us. We are undertaking a massive campus redevelopment programme at the moment at the university. So you mentioned the new James McCune Smith Learning Hub, which opened last year. Yesterday, we had the official opening of our new Advanced Research Centre as well. So a lovely blend of the old historic buildings that you'll all have seen on the website, but also some real modern, unique cutting edge facilities that students will have access to. So yeah, a really exciting time to be thinking about joining us as a postgraduate student. Okay, so Chrislyn, I'll turn to you next. And can you tell us a little bit about whether postgraduate students can join any clubs and societies?
You definitely can join, I think, all the clubs and societies as well as the sports clubs on campus, and I wholeheartedly recommend doing so. Some of my core groups of friends here in Glasgow I've made because I have joined these societies. I'm currently the president of the Glasgow University Intellectual Property Society, and it's been really great not only to host academic events. We host things like coffee chats for students interested in pursuing a PhD. We're also increasing our employability offering. So earlier Mark did mention the internship hub. We're currently working with the internship hub and a few law firms in Scotland and London to host student-specific, well, rather intellectual property specific internships with those law firms. And it's really due to the supportiveness of the university and, you know, these great law firms and the law school that we're able to have all these events. So it's been really great. I wholeheartedly recommend it. As you can see in the ticker, there's over 300 clubs and societies, and I swear there's a society for literally anything. So if you have an interest and you think it's weird or niche, it's not. There's a whole group of people waiting to be friends with you. So go join some societies, definitely.
Thanks, Chrislyn. Yeah, absolutely. There are some weird and wonderful societies here at the University of Glasgow. So there really is, as Chrislyn said, something for everyone. I know Abby has also done some taster sessions with the Tea Drinking Appreciation Society and things as well. So yeah, you name it, there's probably a club and society for it at the university. Okay, so I'm conscious of time, so we're going to kind of head into the final few questions of today's session. And Chrislyn, I'll maybe turn to you again. Could you tell us a little bit about what the city of Glasgow is like, and do you find it a student-friendly city?
The city of Glasgow is, in my opinion, a really livable city. Like I mentioned, or like everyone's been talking about it in the earlier answers, transport is really easy. It's really easy to get around. Also because of the number of universities that there are in Glasgow. So not only Glasgow University, but other universities as well. There are students from everywhere. So in terms of, you know, making friends and just finding people that you can, for lack of a better word, vibe with, it's really easy. As well as I think I should mention that Scottish people are very, very friendly. So I think it is definitely a livable, friendly city. Lots of amenities. If you're an Asian student, the Partick area is really upcoming in terms of the Asian marts and the Asian food. So you won't even feel that homesick in terms of food. Also, I feel like I should mention that the Queen Margaret's Union, which is a building on campus, they recently opened a really great Asian restaurant. So definitely something to check out and helps with the sort of livability and ability to transition well into the city.
Thanks, Chrislyn. Yeah, that's great to hear. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, Mhairi and myself are probably a little bit biased when it comes to talking about the city of Glasgow. So it's great to hear the perspectives of those who maybe haven't lived here that long. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Rough Guides voted Glasgow the world's friendliest city last year as well. And in all seriousness, that is the feedback, you know, like you just said, that students do feel very at home here at Glasgow. They do feel that it's friendly and a safe city for them to live and you know, while they're with us for their studies. So I guess an extension of that question to you, Abby, if you don't mind, do you find Glasgow an expensive city to live in?
I would say for me personally, I do not find Glasgow to be an expensive city to live in, especially in the UK. I believe that is one of the more affordable cities to live in, especially for students or people just starting out in their careers. I know that on the weekly for B, budgeting wise, because I'm a big budgeter, I allow myself £70 for the whole week, and that includes like groceries and then just a little bit extra in case I want to go ahead and do something with friends or go somewhere on the weekends. So it also just comes down to situationally how much you can afford and if you are practical with how you are budgeting yourself out as a student.
Fantastic. Thanks, Abby. Yeah, no, that's really great to hear. So as you'll see again along the ticker at the bottom of the screen, there's more information about cost of living. So giving you an idea of how much, you know, an average, or students tend to say that they'll spend in a month, just to give you an idea when you're budgeting. But certainly worth mentioning that I would say Glasgow is certainly a more affordable city than some of the other kind of large cities elsewhere in the UK. And there's certainly been surveys that have shown that. So yeah, that's really helpful to know. And again, please check out the website for anyone watching, and you'll be able to find out a lot more about all of that as well. So I'm going to maybe do a quick fire question to you both now. So Chrislyn, I'll turn to you first. So advice to students thinking about coming to Glasgow. what 3 things should they make sure that they pack and bring in their suitcase? So over to you first.
This is a hard one, and I'm a bad packer, but I tried really hard to think about this question. And I think the 3 things that I never leave my house without is good pair of walking shoes, just because, if you do live in the West End, likely you will be walking to school. Abby did mention that it takes about 25 minutes to walk. Similar to me, it takes about 20. So, maybe not stilettos, but if you want to, that's fine. So good walking shoes. Definitely as well a good coat, like a weatherproof, all weather terrain type coat, because it can be snowing in the morning and then sunny later, and then rain comes out of nowhere, and it happens. So, and umbrellas just don't stand a chance against the Scottish wind. So I just a coat, a good coat. And lastly, a camera. If you're, interested in taking photos, I have so many photos of the University of Glasgow main building in every single angle, and I never get tired of it. So a camera, definitely. That's
great. Thanks, Chrislyn. Yeah, we often get 4 seasons in one day here at Glasgow. So I think, being prepared. There's no such thing as bad weather in Glasgow, just the wrong clothes, I think is what we say. Okay, and Abby, turning to you, same question. If you had to narrow it down to 3 things, what would they be?
My gosh. So I definitely agree with Chrislyn on having a good pair of walking shoes. You're definitely going to be doing a lot of walking around here, especially if you're just even doing something again on the weekends like I do. I go to different parts of Scotland, and you're always walking if you don't have a car usually, or if you don't have a friend who has a car that you're going on trips on. But also a really good rain jacket. I recently made a video that is on the university's YouTube channel that I made a list of different important items that I thought that every new UofG student should have with them. I will say, to add on to Chrislyn's, something maybe a little bit different is a portable charger. I'm someone who always is having electronics die because I'm constantly on them. So for me, having something like that, especially whenever you're traveling over here or just as a student, it's helpful to have. So yes. Oh, and make sure whenever you have a jacket that it is waterproof and water resistant. Those are big factors, especially when you're getting caught in the rainy days.
Thanks, Abby. Yeah, that's good to know. Just to clarify for everyone watching, it doesn't always rain in Glasgow. We do get some days when the sun comes out, and it's not always too bad. So being prepared, I guess, is the main takeaway. So we've only got about 5 minutes left. Unfortunately, I feel like we could sit here for hours and still have questions to get through. But I'm going to turn to the final question now. So Chrislyn, I'll turn to you first. And put you on the spot. What is the best single thing about being a student at the University of Glasgow?
It's hard to choose, and I'm going to be cheeky and say 2 things, but it's definitely the people that you meet and the student support. Again, as a postgraduate, meaning I have done an undergraduate, and comparatively, I find the support at Glasgow to be extremely, extremely good. So people and support.
Thanks, Chrislyn. We'll let you away with 2. And Abby, over to you. Are you able to do it in 1, or do you need 2 as well?
I'm able to do it in 1, I think. It also kind of tags off of one of Chrislyn's. So that is definitely the people here. The connections that I've made have been, some of the most favorite people that I've ever met. And they feel as though they're going to be lasting friendships and connections that I can keep even after leaving the University of Glasgow.
Fantastic. That's really nice to hear. Thanks very much, Abby. That's a nice note to finish on, I think. So yeah, I think that probably unfortunately brings us to the end of today's live question and answer session. Thanks very much to all of you who've tuned in from over the world. I hope that we answered most of your questions, if not all of them. I think we covered a a good amount of ground today, and I could see that there were lots of questions and comments coming through on the chat as well. So hopefully we've given you a bit of a flavour as to what it's like to be a student here at the University of Glasgow, and we hope that you'll join us as a member of Team UofG, if not this year, then at some point in the future. Just to let everyone know that this recording will be made available, so if you want to re-watch again, or if you maybe missed the start, or you want to buzz back through and hear one of the fantastic answers that one of the panel gave, then you're able to do that. It will remain live on YouTube and Facebook. I'd like to extend my thanks to our wonderful panel today. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedules to share your experiences. I found it really enlightening, so I don't know about anyone else, but I've had a great time. So thanks to you all. Please do follow the university on social media. Do keep in touch. Please let us know if you do have any other questions. I know we might not have had a chance to answer all of them today, so please do reach out and get in touch with us if there's anything at all that we can do to help. So on that note, once again, thanks very much to everyone for joining us. Good luck with your application if you apply to come to Glasgow, and we hope to see you here at the university very soon. So thanks very much, everyone. Bye-bye.